As you can see, the Colorado white gold is built up on the ground around us. And as the crisp, cool air comes in, it's not always easy to get a shovel in the frozen ground. And all the gold in the concentrate pan is gone. Is all I really have left? Is a pan of old washed up rocks left? Let's find out. YepWelp, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, I'm Tim, or YepWelp. If not, thank you so much for coming back for another episode. So today we're mostly focusing on our concentrates that are between 1/8 inch and 20 mesh. When I bring my concentrates home from the river, I break out the 20 mesh screen and I'll run all my concentrates through the 20 mesh screen, and all the smaller stuff I can run through the blue bowl very easily. But all this larger stuff that's in between the 1/8 inch size and the 20 mesh size, is there anything left in it if we already got the gold out of it? Guess we'll have to find out if there's any treasures in there. So here's my little homemade magnet setup that I use to remove all my black sands and any other magnetized material out of my concentrates, whether I'm running them for gold or this time I'm picking through to get the garnets out and some of the quartz. The nice part about this setup is it's slidable. So you can have it down and you go swoop it around and pick up all your magnetite material. You bring it over to another pan or bucket and then you just let it fall down. And sometimes if you have a lot on there, you actually have to physically pull it because the material will keep the magnet actually pulled down because there's so much material holding onto that magnet. So you just pull that off and then the material will drop off and it leaves your bottom nice and clean, and that eliminates having to get your magnet clean. If you've ever put a magnet directly into sand or any other magnetized material, you will quickly realize that the material gets stuck inside all the little grooves of the magnet. And then over time it gets scratched up, it gets built up, and it's really hard to get that stuff off and you lose some of your magnetic power. So this little setup's actually very simple. This is a standard prescription bottle, and you can use any bottle that has a screw top. I just like the screw top so it's removable. And then I have my magnet screwed onto a PVC end cap that's slid into a piece of PVC. And then I drilled a hole into the top of my cap here, and that way I could just slide my cap over my pipe. And it's nice because the end cap is actually bigger than the PVC pipe, and the hole I drilled for the top cap of the bottle is big enough for the PVC, but it stops at the cap. So I can't pull this magnet out of this container. Therefore, it's going to keep it protected. It won't get wet. It won't get built up with gunk. It won't get any magnetite stuck to it or any of my black sands that I might be sucking up to the magnet. Just a quick little magnet that'll really help out when you're going through concentrates. I learned a magnet trick off of Kevin's website. He has his write-up on how he deals with his concentrates once he gets home and pans them all down by classifying them down and using a magnet. He actually uses a yogurt cup, which you can use anything, like I said, that'll slide over your magnet. The key is you just want to keep the magnet nice and clean and eliminate all that stuff building up on there. Well, let's get started. One scoop at a time in the pan. We will be sorting out as many garnets as we can. Looking for the garnets can be very difficult as some of these are going to be extremely small. Let's try and take a closer look. That's a little better. Garnets, especially the red garnets, are very common around Colorado. The larger garnets can be tougher to find though, but any size will work for our project. Once I have most of the garnets separated, I use a pipette to transfer the garnets to a separate pan. Let's take a closer look at some of these garnets. You can see these garnets that are all the way on the right hand side are a little bit larger and have more of a coarse texture. The next two rows, 4 to 5 garnets, are a lot smaller. They also have more of a defined shape. These are almost perfectly round. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick them up being that small, but I thought it was very interesting how some of these were very large and coarse style pieces, and then some were very, very small and almost perfectly round. So quartz is one of the 3 materials that I'll be using in the pendants today. I am very interested in the quartz due to the fact that you can find gold or gold veins throughout some of the quartz. So by milling these down or grinding down the quartz, I will be able to find any gold that's stuck or trapped inside the quartz, and then on top of that, I will be able to use the leftover remaining milled down or ground down quartz inside of my pendants as part of my jewelry. As you can see, quartz comes in all different sizes, varieties, and colors and shapes. We have very translucent or clear pieces over here that are almost like ice. And then you can see up here we have very milky or pale looking quartz, but still mostly just quartz. And then in the middle here we have some samples of quartz that have little veins going through them, and they are hosting different materials throughout the quartz. And then you can have all the way where quartz is mixed completely with another rock, where it's half and half, or just doused in between randomly throughout the quartz. So quartz comes in all different sizes, types, and varieties. Ideally, you're looking for the gold veins through some of these quartz, which would be very hard to find and very rare. But since we were going to use this as part of our pendants, I figured why not use quartz and check it out for some gold. I just wanted to give you a few different examples of the quartz that I'm choosing. We only got through about 25 or 30 scoops of the oversized concentrates. But I was real surprised to see how much useful material we found just out of that little amount. And we still have all this left to look through. It is an optional step, but I took all my garnets and found me a sealable container, and I'm going to throw them in here with some fresh water and a teeny tiny bit of soap and agitate them around and roll them around a little bit, see if I can't polish, kind of clean these up a little bit more. If you happen to have a rock polisher or a tumbler, go ahead and feel free to use that. I don't, so I'm just going to use this guy and do a little manual shimmying and shaking with it and see if I can't get those garnets to shine up a little bit and polish up a bit, clean up real nice before we move on. Well, here's all of our material separated and nice and cleaned up. The small pieces of the magnetite. Here's our gorgeous garnets. And of course our quartz. So now we can just set all 3 materials aside until they're completely dried, as you're going to want the material as dry as possible before you put them into the pendant. That way there won't be any moisture, condensation, or any type of liquid built up at the bottom or around the inside of the glass pendant. Since we have some downtime waiting for our material to dry, I decided to play with Raven. As you can tell, she's a Colorado dog because she sure loves that Colorado white gold. So at your local Hobby Lobby or craft store, you can find yourself these little glass charm pendants. The reason why I went with pendants is because these are all clear and see-through, so you'll be able to see your material through them. And on top of that, they're also hollow, so I can actually fill them up. And then I have some very small funnels here that are going to help me out. As I pop the top of the cork off, I can put the funnel in and then pour in my material. And that'll really help get the material down into our pendant without making a giant mess. The final point that I liked about these is they have a little eyelet or a clasp ring, and that'll give you the ability to attach this to either a necklace or a charm bracelet of some sort. And that way you can either display it or find someone really nice to give it to enjoy it. Or you could even just set these on the table and have them displayed without being on a bracelet, necklace, or any sort of charm pendant. Okay, now that all of our materials dried out, we're ready to start filling the pendants. I found just using a simple spoon to scoop the material to dump it into the funnel worked out great. You want to make sure that you tap the side of the pendant or do some sort of vibration to the material so any and all small areas will be settled and filled completely. Make sure you top off the material and repeat this step until the pendant is completely filled and up to the cork line. So go ahead and repeat this process with any and all materials or pendants you would like to make. Next up is our magnetite. And here's a peek at the milled down quartz. If you're curious about how I crushed and milled up my quartz to get it down to this fine quartz dust, make sure you're subscribed and check out one of my future videos, as I will show you the process of how I can cleanly and easily grind down small and medium-sized quartz pieces into this fine milled material so you can pan it down to see if you have any gold left in it, and then you can use the white quartz powder for whatever you might want to use it for. But most of you out there are going to want to see if there's any gold in it. And like I said, if you're curious, make sure you're subscribed. Check out future videos of how I grind and mill my quartz. So just remember, sometimes life can look like an old washed up pile of rocks. But if you look close enough, there's more to it than that, and you just might find some treasures. A final little dab of clear Gorilla Glue or some super glue around the top of the cork top to seal the deal. So yes, I know, it might not be much, but I think these turned out pretty great. Add in being hand-mined, handmade, and from a pile of old washed up rocks. Can't beat it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making these. Until next time, YepWelp!